You know what, Brian? I tweeted out during the game, Michigan-Notre Dame game, breaking news that I began drinking. That was around. That was right around the second quarter, right around dinner time when my wife took the 3 children out of the house. Brian, does that give you an indication?
Well, that's not acceptable, Rich. You have to have a pregame, ritual, tailgate, something like that, just to get you in the right frame of mind for what's going to happen this year with Michigan.
So, what is going to happen this year with Michigan, Brian?
So, if you ask Jim Harbaugh, I think he believes that this team could be a good football team. What we saw Saturday night was beyond bad. I think everybody who's a Michigan fan wanted to see improvement on the offense. You bring in Jim McElwain, Ed Warner, the offensive line coach. You still have Pep Hamilton, who was a coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. You got a lot of Chiefs in the kitchen there. And it hasn't worked offensively. I still think that this could be a good football team. Defensively, we know what they are with Don Brown. But to not score an offensive touchdown through 58 minutes of the opener is just not acceptable. So to me, Rich, they have to get better up front, the offensive line, and develop players. They've signed great players, but they haven't developed them well enough on the offensive line to be successful with any kind of consistency.
Well, that's the third rail conversation, Brian, is that Jim Harbaugh is not the right man for the job. Do you think he is?
So far, Rich, it hasn't been good. And I'm not going to say that he's not the right guy for the job going forward, but it has to get a lot better this year. I think that opening game created a sense of urgency for the University of Michigan football team and Jim Harbaugh in particular to turn it around this year. And, there's certainly opportunities with, Michigan State, Ohio State games coming up, Penn State, to make this a successful year. But I just think that the first game and the first taste in the mouth kind of expedited this process.
What do you think of what Braylon Edwards had to say, Brian?
It wasn't totally wrong. I would not have taken it out on the individual players, obviously. But, what Braylon Edwards is saying has a bitter truth to it, which is why I think you see the way Jim Harbaugh reacted to it.
Now, I know you got interviews to conduct and practices to watch, but are you going to sneak up to Ann Arbor next weekend, this coming weekend, when you're in Detroit?
They're playing who are they playing? They're playing
Western
Michigan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a pass on that one.
So, is everything going to be all right there, Brian? I'm on behalf of Wolverine Nation, wondering from a guy who's got a ring with Lloyd, Carr. Is everything going to be all right there?
Everything's going to be fine. You just take.
Don't patronize me, Brian Griese. Come on, seriously?
Get yourself a paper bag. It'll be okay.
Okay. Paper bag to breathe in, not put on my head, right?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
very good.
So, yes, that's important information.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.